Money is a problem. I was working in a restaurant before it, and I lost the job.
You mean like you want me to try to go back to work too also?
Well, if you're not gonna work, then maybe you're gonna lose this apartment.
Well, then you better figure out something.
It's been a while since we last saw Jenny and Sumit on our screens. So what have the pair been up to? Well, in the latest episode of 90 Day Diaries, which by the way is entirely self-shot, they've given us a rare insight into their lives today. And by the looks of it, Sumit's new luscious locks isn't the only new thing in their lives.
We recently moved to a new and very nice apartment.
Yeah, that's a big upgrade from our old house. These are our security gates.
Nice. Like, it looks smaller, don't get me wrong, but it also looks more modern and clean than their old place. Now, as you may recall, on the last season of 90 Day Diaries, the last time we saw Jenny and Sumit on our screens, they were with David and Annie in Thailand, and David was putting on the pressure trying to get them to buy an apartment in Thailand. But it turns out that idea was canned. For as swept up in the moment and as keen as Sumit was to move to Thailand, Jenny wasn't. She likes her life in India. She has no intention at 65 years old to relocate to a new country again and start again from scratch. Like, the only thing she's after at this stage of her life is comfort and security.
We have an age gap of 30 years.
It never bothered us.
Yeah, it never bothered us. Like, I like older women. They know a lot of things, especially in bed.
Oh, believe me, Sumit, we know all about that. He's made it very clear just how much he prefers older, experienced Jenny.
And then the bed was it was like,
Oh yeah, the headboard was hitting the wall.
yeah, headboard, and even the bed was making choo choo.
Now, I guess it is good to know that the fear many of us had, the worry that Sumit might tire of an older Jenny, doesn't seem to have materialised. If anything, they seem just as in love as ever. And in fact, the pair of them have both been very active on social media, declaring their love for each other. They're constantly uploading lovely, heartfelt posts about each other, dedicated to each other, singing their partner's praises. So with that in mind, given how many 90 Day Fiance couples either have problems in the bedroom or end up getting divorced, what's Jenny and Sumit's secret? How have they appeared to defy all odds? Sumit, any advice you can share with us?
In order to be in a perfect marriage, the man should just listen and say yes, never say no, and keep saying sorry.
Yep, as a happily married man myself, I can confirm this is 100% correct. Hopefully Sumit passed on this information when he attended fellow cast member Rishi's wedding in Jaipur. That marriage, as you may recall, wasn't between Rishi and his 90 Day Fiancé partner Jen, but rather with a new lady named Maria. Now, getting back to Jenny and Sumit, what exactly was the reason for them downsizing? Why did they move from their old house to a smaller apartment?
We moved because the place we were living earlier, the rent was keep getting higher and
The
higher.
house was getting older.
Yeah, now we moved to a Canadian society, more secure.
Makes sense. I mean, in the nicest possible way, their old place did look a little bit run down. Now, this new place by comparison, this luxury gated compound, also offers them another advantage. It's going to make Jenny's life a whole lot easier. You see, Jenny still isn't as independent as Sumit would like. She's learned a few words of Hindi, like the bare minimum, but she still seems to rely a lot on Sumit. But this new place where they're staying comes with a whole host of amenities. From salons and pharmacies to grocery stores and even a gym, everything is now within the gates of the compound, like it's all within easy reach. So that's definitely going to make Jenny's life a whole lot easier. Now, the problem is, with that convenience comes cost. This new luxury place is expensive, and by the sounds of things, Jenny and Sumit's finances aren't in a great place at the moment.
Money is a problem. I was working in a restaurant before it, and I lost the job.
Oh gosh, that's not nice to hear. Like Sumit tells us he's trying his best to be a good husband for Jenny. He really doesn't want to lose this apartment, but he's now unemployed. Now, that is quite an interesting statement. He says, I was working in a restaurant before this. But, as you may recall, the last time we saw them, again in 90 Day Diaries, Sumit had just opened up a restaurant of his own. Now, I'm not sure how long that lasted, whether he's referring to that or he closed that down and moved on to somewhere else where he lost his job. But either way, that restaurant, that endeavour, obviously had no success. So now he's back to square one. He's back trying to look for employment.
If you're looking for a job, I'm looking for a chef job. I'm trying my best to get a job, but anyone I talk to, they want a trained chef, and I'm not.
Isn't this just classic Sumit? He's not exactly the best at thinking things through, is he?
I didn't plan for it.
I mean, he's trying, right? But he's trying to get a job in a field he's not actually trained in. Now, clearly food is a big passion for him, right? And it's admirable that he's trying to work in that field. But at the same time, if he's applying for jobs that require trained chefs, perhaps it might help if, I don't know, he went and got some qualifications, went to culinary school, for example. At the very least, he should try to expand his repertoire. He tells us, the only thing I actually know how to cook is Indian food. I don't know, like, it might really enhance his job prospects if he got a bit more training, is what I'm trying to say. Especially if he's serious about wanting to support Jenny.
I'm the man of the house. I'm supposed to provide to the family. And Jenny is finally happy in the new apartment. If I can't get the job, then we might lose everything.
Now, the interesting thing to note here is that we all remember Jenny didn't even want Sumit to work in the first place. She wanted them both to be living the more relaxed, retired lifestyle, right? And we saw how Sumit actually wanting to go and get work, wanting to provide for the household, caused a lot of stress in their relationship.
But this is the reason why you can't work 7 days a week, because you need to be more available for me.
Jenny didn't want him working. So now that he's found himself back in that position, back not having a job, it's interesting that he's now saying they might lose everything as a result. In other words, Jenny's pension, her hopes that she'd be able to fund their lives together, actually isn't the case. She isn't able to pay for this even if she wanted to. Now, as we leave Sumit at home cold calling restaurant after restaurant trying to get a foot in the door, we join Jenny as, ironically, she's gone out to spend money they don't have. She's gone on a little shopping trip.
I'm trying to be more independent. I decided I'm going to take a tuk-tuk, well, an auto, we call them autos here, to the mall.
Jenny reveals that this is her first auto trip by herself in the 5 years that she's been living in India. I mean, that's insane, right? This is a very normal way of getting around in India. Yeah, she's definitely still not as independent as Sumit would like. Now, just to add to that, we also learn that Jenny still hasn't picked up the language, which, by the sounds of things, might be because she hardly ever leaves the house.
I've been in India for 5 years, and basically Sumit is the only person that I interact with. But recently, I've grown close to someone else.
That's pretty sad, isn't it? The fact that Jenny doesn't really have any of her own friends, the fact that she seems to sit around at home waiting for her husband when he's employed to come back, seems like it must be quite a lonely existence. So with that in mind, it's good that she's found a new friend, but who is it? Who is this new buddy of hers? Well, in a completely unforeseen turn of events, shock horror, it turns out to be Sumit's mum. Who saw that happening? Clearly a lot has changed since Sumit's mum threatened to kill herself rather than ever accept Jenny as a daughter-in-law. Now, of course, as you may recall the last time we saw them, we did learn that Sumit's mum had finally accepted Jenny. But now, that fragile relationship seems to have improved leaps and bounds.
Hi, look who I am.
और कैसे हो?
I'm good. How are you? कैसी हो?
मैं भी ठीक हूँ, मैं भी
ठीक हूँ?
हाँ ठीक हूँ.
I think that may have been the full extent of Jenny's language capabilities, but who cares? It's just nice to see these two ladies actually finally get along. Like, look at the smiles on their faces. Now, despite the language barrier, against all odds, the pair really do seem to have bonded with one another.
Over the last 15 months or so, we've slowly gotten to know each other. I finally have a friend. This is my mommy G.
मम्मी.
So I know it's a sign of respect, but isn't it funny that she's calling a lady younger than her mummy? Now, let's not forget, before Sumit actually broke the news to his parents that he was in a relationship with Jenny, these two ladies did actually get on quite well. Jenny lived with them in their house at one point until they found out she was in a relationship with Sumit. It seems like they're now in a place where they've put all the past behind them and they've rekindled and grown that friendship that they once had. Like, it's really nice to see that Sumit's mum has completely changed her tune. She's come to peace with the fact that she's not going to be able to force Sumit to split up with Jenny. If she wants to keep her son in her life, well, she's going to need to accept Jenny, and she now has.
परेशान रहती थी जेनी की वजह से, लेकिन जेनी का नेचर देखते हुए मुझे जेनी अच्छी लगने लगी थी, क्योंकि मेरा बेटा उसके साथ खुश है तो मैं भी.
So, after their shopping trip, the two ladies meet up with Sumit for a walk in the park. They're all genuinely enjoying each other's company, and honestly, seeing them hug like this makes you realise that Sumit may have actually been right all along. He refused to give up hope, didn't he? He was always hopeful that maybe one day he could win his mum back round. He always wanted both of these ladies in his life, and he now has that. But, of course, that's not to say that his life is perfect. There is, of course, one thing still hovering over them.
I'm so frustrated, but I didn't get a job.
Oh, no.
Today I called near about 25 to 30 different kitchens and restaurants.
Sumit reveals that out of desperation, he's even been looking outside of the culinary field. I'm prepared to turn my back on being a chef in order to do anything that pays well, he says. And we're actually shown footage of him speaking with his sister-in-law, asking for a job in her marketing company. Now, his sister-in-law does offer him a job, but it's a very low position. It's an internship paying just $200 a month, not even enough to cover his rent. And so, forced to reject that offer, things are now quite desperate for Sumit. So desperate, in fact, that he brings up the unthinkable for Jenny.
I might need your help in order to pay some bills and utility and all that.
You mean like you want me to try to go back to work too, also?
Sumit, do you not know Jenny by now? She's 65 years old and she was ready to retire 5 years ago. She's been living the retired life because she doesn't want to work. She's not going to work. Heck, even when she was working back in America, it didn't really seem like she worked all that hard.
How much cash do you currently have on hand?
About 6,000.
She doesn't even have enough money to buy a car, let alone go to India for the rest of her life.
Yeah, I don't think working is very likely for Jenny, do you? This is a lady who doesn't speak the language and barely seems to get out and about. Unless it's a remote job, I think this idea has no legs. But with Sumit's mum there and part of the conversation, she also takes Sumit's side and tries to heap the pressure on Jenny.
कोशिश कर रहा है ढूंढने की, आपको भी करनी चाहिए जॉब. अब एक की जॉब नहीं है और कम से कम आपकी जॉब होती तो अच्छा चलता. Well, that sucks.
Jenny really doesn't seem happy, does she? That sucks, she says, and she stops herself from having a full-blown meltdown.
I'm not gonna keep doing it. You're not gonna keep telling me you're gonna marry me. You're not. That's it.
But while thankfully there's no chairs to hand, she's also clearly not very happy. This isn't the life you promised me, she tells Sumit. You said you'd take care of me in India, she says. After 5 years of essentially being a housewife, what, now you want me to jump back into the workplace?
Now you're wanting me to find a job? When I came to India, you said that you would be the one handling the finances. I don't want to be pressured into finding a job now.
Now, here's the thing, right? Just hear me out. Like, I know that they need the money, right? But even aside from that, I actually think Jenny getting a job would be good for her. It would be good for her to get out and about, leave the house, not just rely on Sumit for company. It's not as if she has a crazy busy life or anything. I mean, what does she do? She has no one to look after, no kids to raise. We know she's not fond of doing the housework. We know that Sumit does the cooking in the house. So literally, what does she do all all day. Surely finding a way to not only occupy herself, but also earn some money would be good for her and Sumit. It would get her out of his long hair and it would give her a sense of purpose, something for her to do as well. But, of course, if she really doesn't want to do that, then that decision will come with consequences.
And if you're not gonna work, then maybe you're gonna lose this apartment.
But then you better figure out something.
Yeah, forget what I just said. It really doesn't sound like Jenny's going to bend on this one, does it? Now, judging by a recent Instagram post that Sumit shared, reading between the lines, it seems like since things were recorded, their financial situation hasn't really improved. Although he posted photos of them looking quite happy together, having fun together, his caption was quite telling, I think. It read, "Trying to have some good times in scarcity." From that clue, I think times are still scarce for them. Perhaps Sumit might need to get back on the phone and start calling more restaurants.
Hi sir, my name is Sumit. If you are looking for a job, I'm looking for a chef job.